In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You are advised that any view expressed by the host or their guest are not necessarily the views of the owners or management of TogiNet Radio, Togi Entertainment, or the Owners Group, Inc.
It's time for Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues today, with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly. Ladies, Motherhood Talk Radio is here to give you a powerful platform by giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. Motherhood Talk Radio has interviews with best-selling authors, gurus of happiness, and women of interest who every single day make our world a better place for our families. Motherhood Talk Radio, powered by Motherhood Incorporated, is on the air now. Moms, this really is your show. Motherhood Talk Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mamas, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Christy Holly. Christy, it's almost time to go back to school.
I know. I have mixed feelings. I'm happy because I'm going crazy with my kids. But I'm also, now I got to get back into a serious schedule and routine of, getting up early and doing all that chaos.
Yep, the morning breakfast run, the lunches. Now, will Nick go to preschool?
Yeah, he will be in preschool 3 days a week. So, it's like, go, go, go. That's what I'm like this crazy person in the morning, and then when I get them off to school, I'm like,
Yeah, it's like being shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, and it's a big sense of accomplishment when I get them there on time. I'm like patting myself on the back going, okay,
we can do this.
I know.
We can do this. I know it's a lot. I find, it's like that Staples commercial from a couple of years ago. Do you remember, the dad was, pushing the cart? It's the most wonderful time of the year.
And it is.
I know, it's so bad to say it, but it's like, this has been a really rough summer for me, with my kids. We're supposed to have, with the divorce, we're supposed to each take the kids for 2 weeks out of the year. My ex took them for 4 days, I've had them. Yeah, thank you very much for the 2-week respite. I'm happy to have my kids, don't get me wrong, but when I was thinking, wow, I've got 2 weeks to myself to go for a trip, to go home and see my mom, do all these things, and then not. And then not only is the fun part of it, not only do I not get the 2 weeks respite, but I get the kids for an additional 2 weeks because he and the girlfriend are going away and going on a cruise and all this stuff. So I have more 24/7 coming up, which is, 50-50 custody according to California, not.
I know, it's so great.
But, and the reason I share this is not because I want everybody to feel sorry for me, but I will take it. But because I know there's a lot of other moms out here. I talk to a lot of these moms that, at least in the state of California or the state of New York where I'm from, I have got 2 cousins in the same boat. Successful women had to pay off their husbands to get them to go away. And, they have this 50-50 illusion of custody so that the dad doesn't have to pay child support. But they have their kids 80% of the time. So yeah. I know there's a lot of women out there who are, I don't want to fight the custody issue. We'll live on what I make. I'd rather have my kids. I get that. But, for those of you like me who are going, wow, I'm going to get a 2-week break, even though you miss your kids.
You need it.
Yeah, I need it. I do need it.
You totally need it.
I do need it. And emotionally, it's very hard. Summer is hard for us moms. Kids are out of school
all day,
fighting, and we got to go places. And even vacation with kids is stressful.
It's not really vacation.
It isn't vacation. Vacation's a margarita on the beach with an umbrella with my feet up, looking at some hot guy, not picking sand out of somebody's bathing suit.
That's right.
That's right. Well, and, we're talking about back to school week, so we have reporter on the street, mom reporter on the street, Doris Rivas-Brecky, who's going to talk to us about some amazing statistics with back to school.
Am I on?
You are. You are a reporter on the street. What did you find out?
Thank you, Sandra and Christy. And for all you moms out there, here is some news that's world news in 120 seconds, give or take. On your mark, get ready, set, shop. 77 million American children are heading back to school this week, and that means $68 billion will be spent on clothes, uniforms, supplies, and other important school items. This is the second biggest sale date of the year, second only to Christmas. On top of this news, everything on your school buying list has gone up 10% plus across the board. But according to ABC World News, bargains can be found, but they are hard to find. So here are some tips to follow in these tough economic times. First, start shopping at the dollar stores because you will find some of those items on your list for $1 that you will not find anywhere else for $1, including Walmart. Second, check your child's clothes that are in the closet and see if you can take out seams, hems, fix buttons, and maybe jazz up the clothes with a little imagination. Third, check out consignment stores. There you'll find big brand names for big percentages off. And fourth, most importantly, if there's something on your list that is not an essential item, wait to shop for a couple weeks or a month, because anything that doesn't sell the first week of the big sale week will be drastically reduced.
So Doris, hold on, back up for a minute here.
Okay.
You said $68 billion spent? It's billion,
yes,
like Billion.
Yes, ma'am. B with a, as in boy, billion.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense. Well, how many kids are going back to school? Like 77 million?
Right, 77 million, but 68 billion. The gross national product, which means all the money earned coming out of Ethiopia, is 77 billion. Honduras, 27 billion. Nicaragua, excluding the drug trade, 14 billion.
Well, let's just add the drug trade in there.
Well, right. I mean, we're not going to add the drug trade in there, but so we're spending, as overindulgent Americans, the equivalent of some countries' gross national product for school.
Yep.
So,
And, sorry.
Well, I'm just thinking, that's a huge amount of money to start school in an economy where people are losing their homes, they can't make their car payments, they've got credit card bills up the wazoo. I've got a credit card bill for the first time in my life, that I can't pay off, and I'm cheap as the day is long.
No, you're not.
Well, I'm pretty cheap, but frugal, conscientious of how I spend my money. But for crying out loud, that's insane.
Well,
I mean, there's something wrong. I'm sorry. To me, there's something wrong socially. If we're spending as much as, 5 times as much as a third world country just to send our children back to school.
But it's not, we have to buy the things the kids grow out of their clothes. You have to get them new stuff. There's no way that you cannot get them new things to start the school year. I mean, we can go through our closets. My mother-in-law is like, Christy, I don't think the kids need anything. Yes, they do. They don't have, they've grown out of half their things. Half the shirts they wore last year have stains on them. I cannot send the kids into last year's clothes that have stains on them, that are worn. I won't do it.
Fair enough. I realize that there's a need for new stuff, but you've got to admit, at $70 billion, there is a shopping frenzy going on for school stuff. And how much of that stuff, when you look at, what is it, Doris? 600. The average family in the United States spends $600
yes,
per
the
kid.
average family this year will spend $606 on clothes and other school essentials per child this year.
Just to get started. I guess I just think, that in this economy, maybe there is something that could be mended. And I had to buy my kids new shoes. They both needed new shoes. They need a couple pairs of jeans and a couple things. But I didn't even come close to spending $600 per child. I probably spent $100 per kid because I can't afford it. There's no money for that. But I guess realistically do we even stop and think, what do we really need versus, I mean, believe me, I went and bought my own school supplies this year because I just love winter school supply thing. But I wonder how much of what we're spending is what we truly, really need versus are we keeping up? Are we overspending? Are we buying stuff that maybe we don't need at this point because it's part of that back to school? And it's fun. I mean, to be fair, it's fun to do back to school
Well,
shopping.
it is, and it's fun. I mean, yeah, we probably are overindulging and keeping up with the Joneses or whatever, but it's also like for the kids, it's a new beginning, it's a new start, it's a new school year, and they need to start fresh. That's what I feel like. That's what it feels like to me. Even now, when September rolls around, I get that back-to-school feeling. But, that's just the way that I was brought up. That's what we did. You get new outfits.
New outfits. We got a new outfit. Like, I didn't say we got, like, a lot of new clothes, but we would get a new outfit, we'd get new shoes, and we'd get some school supplies, but nothing like my kids get today.
We get, like, five new outfits, maybe 6, and then stuff to mix and match so that you're not wearing the same exact thing each week.
Okay. Did you get the underwear with the dates on them? Like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? I love those.
Yes, I love those, too. Those are always fun.
They are always fun. Well, I guess, I guess my point, I'm so glad that Doris brought this up. For me, my point is just to give everybody a message that, we don't have to go crazy with school supply stuff. It's okay. Christy wants to go crazy. You go crazy. You get permission for people to go crazy. I'm going to give permission not to go crazy and then not feel like a bad mom because we're not caught up in the shopping frenzy that is back to school. Christy?
Well, I just think that things are more expensive now.
Yes.
And it's not just, we're still trying to buy the things that we need to have. The kids need to have new shoes, at least 2 new pairs. My daughter, she needs to have some tennis shoes and some shoes that she can wear with the dress. And they're not like $20 anymore. They're like $40 or $50. Some of the shoes, good shoes for their feet, and it's like that adds up, especially with our California tax.
10%.
We get killed. So, when you are still trying to buy the necessary things, it still costs arm and a leg.
That's true. And girls are more expensive than boys, I'll give you that.
They're way more expensive than boys.
And I can use, it's like with Zach, we've got a lot of hand-me-downs that he can use that are in good, condition from Max, since Max is the boy in the bubble. But it is. But I guess, for me, because I'm in a position now where I really have to be careful with what I spend, I feel bad going in and not being able to walk into Walmart and going, woo, let's get this, let's get that, let's buy this, let's buy that. I felt really bad. And when I saw about how much people are spending, I know there's people out there that are spending more than they need to because they feel bad or they feel guilty. So I just want to say for all the moms out there that are struggling like me financially, that can't go in with a credit card and just plunk down and have that great, like, woo, we're back to school, it's okay.
It is okay.
It is okay. And if you want to be like Christy and go, woo, we can, you can do it for her because she has fairy lights. And when we come back from the break, we will be welcoming Janine Wilburn from Touch.Nology and have a lot more fun.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. If you're ready for a big change in your work, your career, your happiness, your life, it's time for the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Marla believes that with the right mindset, anything is possible. Join us as successful life coach Marla Tabaka inspires you and her clients to explore, discover, and live your dreams by developing what she calls the $1 Million Mindset. Marla will inspire you to take action on your dreams and reveal secrets to success that will help you realize your own unique power. Tune into the $1 Million Mindset for heartwarming stories with Marla Tabaka. Learn tips and tricks to building a successful business and unlock the secrets to creating a happier, more balanced life through abundant thinking and attraction power. For more information on the $1 Million Mindset, go to our website, marlatabaka.com. That's MarlaTabaka.com. It's the $1 Million Mindset with Marla Tabaka. Monday afternoons at 2, 1 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Get ready for the Not So Soccer Mom Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet with Jill Hickey. You name it, from politics to pop culture to Jill's search for the perfect bronzer and chicken salad. The Not So Soccer Mom will weigh in on it all. The sentence, "I have no opinion about that," is one that Jill has never uttered. Everybody loves Jill. In the early 90s, Jill finally decided to put her thoughts, opinions, mom advice, love of pop culture, hummus, and Starbucks, working out, cosmetic shopping, and politics into an actual website, and thus NotSoSoccerMom.com was born. Shortly after her 4th child, a boy, Jerome, now she's really got tons of topics to share with you. This is Laugh Out Loud Funny, and we're not kidding. What's a loud Nebraska girl who lived in Little Rock for many years and now is up in the Northeast doing? Chronicling her opinions on everything. The wheels aren't off yet, but it's close. It's the Not So Soccer Mom. with Jill Hickey, Tuesday afternoons at 1 Eastern, noon Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mamas, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Christy Holly, and we're still fighting over our spending issues with back-to-school supplies.
I was saving money to do that. So I could do that.
Well, but that's a good thing, because that's about allocating your resources to what's important.
Plus, I have to admit, my mom is helping us out. She wanted to buy the kids some of their school clothes and stuff. So
that's very cool. I mean, that's very cool. I mean, last year, my oldest brother, helped me, and my sister-in-law. They sent sneakers. They sent stuff that it's hard to find here in California when we get cold, winter stuff, some winter gear. And my sister-in-law sent the kids new snowsuits, things like that, so when we go to the mountains, I don't have to come out of pocket for that stuff. So, yeah, I think that whole thing about Hillary Clinton said it is an African proverb that takes a village to raise a child in these economic times.
Yes,
that village needs to come, make some donations. No doubt. Well, we have a great guest today, Christy. She has been on my Military Mom Talk radio show, Shameless Plug, Mondays 2 to 3 on TogiNet. Her name is Janine Wilburn, and she is from her own company, Touch.Nology. And not only is she an amazing, amazing woman, a delightful spirit, a great entrepreneur, totally creative. She has helped me with the transition of my mom, who's, probably be this week at the latest before my mom passes away. So anybody out there going through the same thing, I hope you listen to today's show or recommend your friends, email them the podcast, email them the link to today's show, because we're going to talk about emotional states, how tears help cleanse toxins out of bodies, some of the neuro stuff that goes on in our heads in crisis. Janine, I don't know what to say other than introduce yourself. You're so fabulous. You've got this great story about you personally, how you became to own this company. Rock and roll.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And you know what? I just got back from buying school supplies. Seriously. I did. So where would you like me to begin?
I would like you to tell your personal story first, because that's as compelling as your company story.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Boy, I can't believe how long ago it's been now, but it's been close to 14 years ago. I was on my way to a meeting, and I live in San Francisco, and I was stopped at a light, and someone came over one of the big hills, not seeing the traffic had stopped, and rammed into me. And it was a pretty nasty car accident, but I walked away from it. I went to the meeting, and little did I know that within about 24 to 48 hours, my life was going to change in a way that I could never, ever have anticipated or be prepared for. And basically, it's been 14 years of recovery. I ended up damaging just about every disc in my spine for anybody who's ever had back issues, and my neck and my tailbone was cracked, and my hips were twisted. And I had spinal cord compression for a big chunk of my neck, and even the best neuro surgeons were reluctant to do surgery because of the extent of the damage. So I was given a very dire prognosis of that the paralysis I was experiencing in my hands and arms would be permanent, and there would be more. And it was just a matter of how much of my body would end up being paralyzed. And I just had a 9-month-old baby. This didn't work. So I started to go, I went on a quest, thank goodness for the Internet, and I found a lot of information on this new area of neuroscience called neuroplasticity. And it started to reach into areas that I think before had been considered either more religious or spiritual. And it was kind of in areas or maybe wisdom, things like that. But now with all of the new brain imaging technology, they could actually measure what different kinds of thoughts actually do in the brain and then help with the body. So I started to research more and more about everything that was being done, anything I could find around the country, and contacting scientists and researchers around the country to find out more about this. in addition, you utilized more things such as yoga, and I was able to. The good news is while the recovery's been a long one, if you met me, you would never know that I'd ever experienced any of that. I still have my moments. There's still January 1st, 2010, I woke up and I couldn't move again, and then I got to begin again. But for the most part, I can live a pretty active life. Especially
something that the doctors, neurosurgeons, doctors, specialists, and you spent just a little bit of money on your recovery. How much do you think you've spent over the past 14 years on your recovery?
Based on what the federal government will let us take off in taxes with receipts, over $1 million. Oh. And we were just incredibly blessed that we were able to generate that have that kind of revenue. But it took everything we had and wiped us out. But it wasn't, the things that we were working on are not covered by insurance. So the things that would have been covered by health insurance, surgeries and whatnot, the prognosis was really grim. I wasn't expected to survive. So we had to try other things that weren't covered.
Well, and you're just a perfect triumph of the human spirit over, dire prognosis and extreme pain. I mean, spinal cord injuries are not fun, and the injuries that you sustained in your back, neck, and spine, I mean, you kind of need your spine.
You do. You don't. I'd never, ever had any back issues before, and I had this vast amount of energy. And when you are reduced to tears by trying to wash your own hair, or, the idea of making a bed is something that, causes you to break into a sweat, and you can't lift the pillows. It was just, and the pain was, the way to describe the pain, it was sort of like if someone threw a brick at your bare foot, or, when the dentist hits a nerve, like,
yikes.
But it was like that all up and down my spine. So it was definitely, there were definitely times where I was like, how am I going to get through this? In
the toddler years, when you got injured, your baby was 9 months old?
He was 9 months old. So a lot of, my husband would have to prop him into, pillows under my arms and then coordinate my arms around him for me to try to hold him, and then someone would have to hang on to him because otherwise I couldn't hold him. And, of course, it was a big child. So that didn't help. But through utilizing a lot of different tools, it was amazing that I could recover and that there was so much more that could be done. And so that's why we started our company, Touch.Nology, was to get that out and to get those materials out to other people. And what I had been doing before all of that was I'd been in communications. I did broadcast journalism, and I was in advertising. And so what I knew was communications tools. So I took the kinds of tools I knew and understood and built in my understanding of the neuroscience.
Wow. So tell me, what is neuroscience for our listeners today that may not be familiar with that term?
Well, yeah, the area of neuroscience, neuroplasticity, it really is kind of, I'm going to simplify it, and if there's anybody out there who's a real neuroscience, they're going to cringe, but here's the simple way I can understand it.
That's why you're on our show.
Neuroplasticity is like, when we think thoughts, it's like, think about, water, a little stream that runs, and then over time that stream can turn into a river, and then the river gets deeper. Well, our thoughts are like that, especially, if you notice how you have repetitive thoughts. And so those thoughts create like little grooves in our brain. And so when we've been hurt or injured or upset, and it can be an emotional hurt or it can be a painful loss, we tend to think certain thoughts and we create certain kinds of grooves, and we call that like negative plasticity. And that helps create like one set of things that goes on in our body. So when we're dealing with really large challenges or losses or whatnot, you actually can change by doing certain things, very simple things. You can change what part of the brain you're using, and then the brain and the body will produce endorphins and different hormones and things that will actually make you feel better. And you'll create positive plasticity. So when, for example, part of what happened was that I ended up with post-traumatic stress syndrome because with that much of your spinal cord and central nervous system damaged, a slight change of lighting could send me into fight or flight. So how do you get out of fight or flight? That's what I was looking for. I knew what was going on, but how do I change it? Because the thinking part of your brain actually shuts down while that's happening so that you can do survival things. Well, that's great if you're really in a survival circumstance. I wouldn't be. So what I found was, in particular, gratitude. Gratitude could help me actually shift out of a post-traumatic stress incident into something that would calm it all down. I wouldn't have to go to that place where it would be really physically and emotionally uncomfortable. Same thing with people who have anxiety attacks and things. So the gratitude, though, if you can't think, that's really hard to come up with it while all that's going on. So then I created gratitude cards so I could pull them out of my pocket and read them. And I want to say a minute about these gratitude cards, Janine, because you sent me a set to help work through, the grief and everything that's going on with my mother's passing. And what these gratitudes are, cards for you guys listening at home, they look like little credit cards. And, there's a pack of them that come in this really pretty little bag. And they are pretty pictures that make you feel good. And then they have sayings on them like, I feel grateful for my ability to recover. I feel grateful for the ocean. I feel grateful for these things. And what's amazing is whether you read one or, sometimes, lately I've had to read through, all 14 to get to that place. But they do help you. They do help you feel grateful to relieve that fear or anxiety or sadness. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you look on the back, there's a place for you can start to write your own, too, so you can make them, very personal to yourself. But what's just so amazing, there's a hospital in Boston that's just studying gratitude because of the power of what it can do to help heal. So it's one of those tools that anybody can use, and it helps even if you're just, you've had the kids all summer. There you go. You know what? Exactly. I hate to interrupt you. I've got to take us to a commercial break. My name is Sandra Beck. I am the host of Motherhood Talk Radio, along with Christy Hawley, and our interviewer on the street, Doris Rivas-Brecky. We want to thank her for her contribution today. Our guest is Janine Wilburn, and she is one of the owners of Touch.Nology. That's touch-nology.com. When we come after the break, we're going to talk about how tears cleanse the body and the power of emotion.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true.
I love it.
Debbie Glickman and Deanna Cohen know it. Join these soul sisters on TogiNet.com. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true. Showcases two sides. One, to help entrepreneurs showcase their products and tell their story of their happily ever after. And two, to interview people who have realized their own fairy tale and doing something to benefit others. This show is here to help folks who have an idea and want to get it off the ground, as well as to inspire people to make the world a better place by doing something extraordinary or out of the box to help others. Both of these entrepreneurs have their own businesses and websites. With more information on their passions and successes, first for Debbie, fairytalewishesinc.com, and for Deanna, thenextbigzing.com. Believe in your fairy tale to make your zing come true with the Soul Sisters, Debbie Glickman and Deanna Cohen on TogiNet.com. Homeschooling? Have questions? Get your pen and paper ready. It's the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney. Fridays at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com. After a handsome blue-eyed Texan fell in love with Vivian at the Victoria Station in London, she found herself at DFW Airport with a tiny suitcase and a snazzy little duffel bag. Well, 25 years later, she is now happily married to that blue-eyed cowboy. They have 4 grown children ages 24 to 18 who became willing guinea pigs when she unwittingly stumbled upon the world of homeschooling. Wildflower Academy flourished for 15 years. They survived and thrived, and you can too. Vivian will be covering a wide range of issues that face homeschoolers. What do you do with kids in the summer? How to set up your one-room schoolhouse? How obedience is paramount? And what to do with those snakes? Plus, you'll be sharing ideas and insights that she gleaned from other homeschoolers. So join us for an engaging hour with the sociable homeschooler, Vivian McNinney, Friday afternoons at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mamas, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Christy Holly, and we just have, isn't she fascinating? She is. She is. We have Janine from Touch.Nology today. You guys should check out her website. She does all sorts of cool products. She's not only a survivor, but a thriver, taking, a terrible accident and transforming it into a company that serves others, including me, and a lot of our PTSD guys get some of her stuff, and she did a great job for the Army National Guard. I mean, just amazing things that have come out of this woman's spirit, along with her husband and her partners that have put this company together. But I want to talk about, I know we're talking about neuroplasticity and how the brain makes new pathways and things, but you had told me last week, Janine, when I was telling you I was really sad about my mom and crying a lot, you talked to me a little bit about emotion and tears, and I would like to explore that with you on the air if I could.
Absolutely. We were talking about emotion is really energy in motion, and we all are, and we know this from our high school science, that while we look solid, we're made up of molecules and things that are moving, that are constantly moving, and emotions are just these. They occur as feelings, but it's this thing. It's like frequency that's moving, and when you start to experience them, especially the sort of negative reactive emotions, that's why sometimes people will say, I just feel like I had to explode, or the tears just were, I couldn't hold them back. Well, it really is. There's a lot of energy that needs to be released. And when you understand that, then it's a matter of letting it go in a way that's constructive rather than something that ends up being destructive. And when you cry, and having a good cry is actually a really great thing to do because it helps actually detoxify all that. It just really lets it all out. You ever notice how if you have a really good cry, at the end you're exhausted, but you really do feel better? And so many of us, especially women and moms, and you're so busy taking care of everybody else that when something goes on and you feel a need to cry, you push it down, you bury it. And that's kind of it's like at some point that energy that you're stuffing in there is going to come out. So taking a few minutes to go into whatever part of your home you can get away with and sit down and really cry is a great way to release it, and you truly will feel better physically and mentally.
Well, it's funny because, I remember my mom telling me that as a little girl, like, go ahead and cry, just get it all out, it'll make you feel better, and it's true, but there's an actual, when I think about, yes, there's a huge energy release that happens, when you're emotional that way, but I never really thought about the tears as being like cleansing and removing toxins from the body.
Absolutely. It's like people say, well, tears are salty, and it's like they actually do help get rid of toxins. And so it's a good thing to do.
So next time I cry, I should turn around to the people around me and go, I am not crying, I am detoxifying.
I'm detoxing my toxins.
I'm releasing energy back off.
In a very efficient way. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I am
absolutely.
Just detoxifying and back up.
And we also talked about the experience of like loss and sadness and those emotions. They're real, but we talked about how it's not about shutting them off and putting them away, but if we focus on the sadness and we put more energy into the sadness actually grows. Because anything we put energy into, it gets bigger, right? If you put your time into something, you see things occur, right? So, when people go, what am I starved with, until the most recent economic situation was, I want more time, not that they wanted more money. And so what you want to make sure is that you can recognize the sadness and feel the sadness or feel the sense of loss, and then look to, and that's where the gratitude comes in, or being of service, and put your energy in there. That will actually help. It's not that you're negating the sadness or the grief, or it's just that you're not allowing it to take over in a way that no longer allows you to be productive.
Now, Janine, I just got an email coming in. I'm watching the server here for our show. I got an email coming in off of Facebook, actually, that says, how long is it okay to feel sad? Like, you're acknowledging that it's important to feel sad. It's important to feel these feelings, acknowledge them, cry, let it out. But, the things you focus on make them grow. Mm-hmm. So where does relieving yourself of the emotion and cleansing the body and dealing with the emotions, where does that end, and where does focusing on it so it becomes bigger begin?
Well, I think it starts when you need to have it make friends with your sadness. When you can start to, everybody kind of has a sense when they know, wait a minute, it's sort of time for me to move on, but I can't quite move on. There's something here. People know inside what that is, and the way to do that is to say, okay, now transform your sadness from something that, oh no, here I go again, and I'm sad, and this means I'm going to crawl into bed and pull the covers over my head. And, sometimes you may need to do that, right? But if you've done it a couple of days in a row, and now, other things in your life are starting to fall apart, that lets you know that that's no longer a productive way. Have that sadness be a reminder to do some of these other activities. Have the sadness when it comes up. You go and make your own gratitude cards, or get gratitude cards, or do a gratitude list, or be of service. It's like, wait a minute, I'm getting really sad again. So, that's right. And Mrs. Jones next door is, in her 80s, and I can go sweep her stoop. And it's actually remarkable. Something as simple as sweeping somebody's stoop for them, or doing something very simple, an act of kindness for somebody else, will break that sadness that we feel so overwhelmed by. And most people
and I think it's what you're saying, when you said the word break, and I'm looking at another quote, another comment that just come in. When you said break, I don't think what you're really talking about is sadness. I think you're talking about that cycle that happens, that when, it triggers. I know for me, something will trigger me, and then I go down that road of oh my God, my mom is dying, what am I going to do, and blah, 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 and I cycle through that thing. And when you go and you do something for somebody else, or now I pull out, when I start feeling sad, I acknowledge the sadness, I feel sad for a little bit, I look at these gratitude cards, I'm breaking that pattern or that cycle. And is that what you're talking about? That we need to almost retrain ourselves how to not go down that same road.
Well, exactly. It's that's where those patterns that we talked about, the thought patterns, and it's a spiral. And I haven't met a human being who doesn't have their version of the spiral. Well, this adds to this, that adds to this, and therefore, as my mother used to say, let's all eat worms. Life is really awful. So if you can catch yourself as you go into that spiral, but see, now we know, then your brain is, your thought patterns in a certain groove. So how do you get out of that groove? And that's where I like to say you have tools in your tool chest that you go and you call on and say, okay, wait a minute, this is a reminder. So I don't have to, the spiral's starting to come, but now I'm going to stop. I'm not going to go further in. I'm going to grab my gratitude cards. I'm going to be of service. I'm going to go out and do 5 acts of kindness. It's very simple things that cost really no money that you can do. And if you have them as a pattern, some people like to do this, that they'll so integrate it into their lives, is that especially if they have to drive a lot, taking kids to and from places or going to and from work, that they will say really positive things at every stoplight, every time they get a red light. So it'll be sayings about, I'm wonderful and my life is wonderful. And you can giggle about it, but, you say that every red light that you get, you start to feel that way. And then that's another tool that you have in your tool chest when a whole bunch of things start to happen and it sort of feels like life is not working the way you want it to. And when we put the energy into the spiral, we get more spiral.
Well, and the thing that makes me think of, Janine, when, and this is going back, when you have a CD and it has a skip in it.
Yes.
Like, it's like I think sometimes when we go through emotional trauma or we go through things that are repetitive issues for us, based in painful situations, something triggers it. We start down that thought process. We start, going down that road again, which is almost like, that song that we're listening to. And it's like we're listening to that song. We know the lyrics are coming up and da-da-da-da, and we get all involved in the song. But the song is the emotional distress we're going through. It's almost like you got to put a scratch in that CD or scratch in that record, because you know how sometimes when you scratch your CD, then you go listen to the radio, you hear the song on the radio, like 2 weeks later, and you're waiting for the scratch, you're waiting for the skip. It's like, I think kind analogy. Of, well, what you're trying to tell us is that programming or that cycle we go through or that process, if we can interrupt that process by having a different thought, which is insert gratitude, if we can go do something for somebody else, which gets us moving and, again, moves us into that space of gratitude, we're really interrupting that song that goes in our head that becomes part of who we are, part of our physiology. Because I know I feel, going down that road again, feeling sorry for myself, the loss. I mean, Chrissy, have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah. And I make up some story that hasn't happened or isn't going to happen. What I'm thinking and what's going to happen in the end and how it's going to be so terrible, and it plays over and over and over, but it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened.
It's just,
but it's like a song in your head.
Yeah.
So we need to, so if I'm hearing you correctly, Janine, we have to create a skip in that song, and we do that through gratitude. We do that through changing our thoughts or like being of service, doing something nice for somebody else, but really we're just interrupting a negative pattern.
Exactly. And you want to take it one step further is you're going to create a positive pattern. And you can do it by being creative, listening to music, playing music, things that use a different part of your brain, and that think about when you go running or exercising, and it gives off, your body then gives off different chemicals, and
wow.
You'll feel much better.
I got to tell you guys listening today, I mean, this show sounds, a little bit out of the ordinary, and it sounds a little bit strange because we're conditioned as American consumers to think that we need a medicine, we need a pill, we need to pay for something, we need to pay for therapy. This is something that you can do with no out-of-pocket expenses. You can literally interrupt these patterns that are holding you back, interrupt these patterns that hit you when you're vacuuming and you're alone and you're thinking of this stuff or folding laundry. And this is a very powerful tool that doesn't cost anything, but because we can't sell it, because we can't, cost it out, it's probably not going to be in our media consciousness. So I encourage you guys to give it a try. Our guest today is Janine from Touch.Nology. When we come back from the break, Christy and I are going to talk a little bit more about interrupting patterns and how we can use emotions to push us forward.
Mom, here's your show, Motherhood Talk Radio, giving you interesting, inspiring, and influential information as you navigate everything from childcare to corporate formation. This is Motherhood Talk Radio, and we'll be right back after these. Everyday Autism Miracles with Shannon Penrod, Friday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com. Life after an autism spectrum diagnosis doesn't have to be difficult. It can be joyful, happy, and filled with hope. Join Shannon Penrod, author, speaker, coach, and mom of a 6-year-old recovering from autism, for this inspirational hour of hope. She's even authored a series of children's autism books with her son, Jim. For more information about the books, Shannon, and Everyday Autism Miracles, go to her website, shannonpenrod.com. From there, you can also get to her other websites, blogs, and connections. On Everyday Autism Miracles, you'll hear stories from parents whose children have made miraculous strides. You'll also get the inside dish on therapies, treatments, supplements, and how to get funding to help you afford them. Miracles abound in the autism community, so tune in for Everyday Autism Miracles to listen, share, laugh, and surround yourself with hope. Everyday Autism Miracles with Shannon Penrod. Friday afternoons at 2, 1 Central on TogiNet.com.
Why do I feel so lousy? Why aren't my medications working? Why can't my doctor figure me out? These are just a few of the questions Dr. Kevin Connors will be exploring in Dr. Kevin Connors Live every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. The author of the book, Help My Body Is Killing Me, solving the connections of autoimmune disease to thyroid problems, fibromyalgia, depression, ADD, ADHD, and more. He'll dig into these and many other conditions to dissect the mechanisms of your problems. giving God the glory and looking for answers to make you look and feel better, to make you feel whole again. For more on him, his book, and the show, check out upperroomwellness.com. Never be satisfied with a diagnosis. There is always a reason behind it. And if you can alter the mechanisms that led you down your current path, we can change your future. It's Dr. Kevin Connors, live, Monday nights at 9, 10 Central, here on TogiNet.com. Welcome back to Motherhood Talk Radio, the most powerful voice in women's issues. For more information, check out the website, motherhoodtalkradio.com. Now, let's get back to the show with your hosts, Sandra Beck and Christy Holly.
Hey, mamas, this is Sandra Beck, and I am here with Janine at Touch.Nology. She's an amazing, amazing woman. Christy, what do you think so far?
So far, I like it. I'm going to have to, when I start having negative thoughts or start feeling bad, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, I think good.
Retrain my brain.
Retrain my brain. I love that. Like at the stop sign, say something empowering to
instead of something really bad.
Right. We just get out of the way.
Yes. I can do that.
I can do that. We all can do that. Because I have had this. I'm vacuuming, and I'm thinking.
Yes.
And then by the time I'm done vacuuming the living room, I'm like suicidal. I'm completely freaked out. I'm angry at whatever person I'm angry at. I've gone through this whole argument in my head about what you're going to say to that person as soon as they find out, and that you're mad at them, and this whole process. And I know we've all done it.
Totally do that.
Yeah. So we're going to figure out how to skip that record, because that song, like I call it a song, it comes up again and again, right? Yeah, the voices in my head. But, the one thing I love about Janine, and Janine, I want to go ahead and give your information for people to check out your website, see your products, learn more about you. How would they do that?
Okay. They can go to Touch.Nology.com, and then it's TOUCH, and then it's a hyphen, Nology, NOLOGY.com, and you can click on products, and then you can go to our store, and you can actually see the kinds of things that we're talking about. You can make these for yourself, but sometimes folks are saying, no, I can't make them. I just, I want to be able to get them and just start using them, and that's why I started to make them, because I was like, no, here, create it yourself. It was like, no.
Well, and these aren't like things like you whipped up in a cauldron pot. You've got lots of heavy duty shrinks behind you, smart people, creative people. Not my company, but not those smart people. But there are a lot of people that have come together to create this stuff. Can you share a little bit with our listeners about that?
Well, we did a lot. We've used a lot of academic research and also proprietary research, and for the past just about 6 years, the bulk of the work that we do is with the U.S. military. So we've been servicing families across the many different branches of the military. In fact, literally today, we'll be doing some more work with the Air Force Reserves. So we've been able to get feedback during that time period as well, and research from the military families, so we all know are really been very stretched for a very long time.
Well, and the stuff that we experience, trauma, whether it's through divorce or accident or illness or injury, that's what our military families struggle with. They struggle with transitioning to change, which the traditional family might go through a divorce or through a death, and that causes the family to change and transition. But military families, they have to transition, deployment, redeployment, back from deployment, moves, all these things that are stressors for people on a good day. So you really have a target audience to refine products to help during these transitions. And I'm living proof. The stuff you sent me to help me transition with the family changes that we're going through with the loss of my mom, and I'm finding even, picking up some of the stuff that's still left over from the divorce, these transitions that we go through in our life, they can be managed. They can be, there's things you can do rather than just vacuuming your carpet until there's no carpet left.
Well, so it is good. It's probably good to vacuum, but the other thing is that once you get past the anger or the hurt or the upset, if you ever notice that actually underneath it all is fear.
Yeah.
It's fear that you're going to experience that pain again, fear about not knowing what's coming in the future. It's either fear about what happened in the past repeating itself, or fear about what you don't know what's going to happen.
Or fear of loss. That's another part of it. Fear of loss, fear of being alone. I mean, you want me to make a list of fears? I got a bunch of them.
Right, and then those fears end up being really the trigger for those patterns, those thoughts, the upset. Because if you can let go of the fear, and it's like, okay, great. How do you let go of the fear? Well, I got to, for years, go in and try to do a headstand, and yet I was an 1/18 of an inch away from paralysis from the neck down, because I knew that was helping to heal the neck. And it was like one of my greatest gifts. I used to cry.
You did a headstand?
Oh, you know what? Last week I did a handstand by myself. I've never done one before by myself.
I'm in so much fear now for you. How about you, Christy?
What? I can't even do a headstand. Or a handstand.
Right, you're fine.
And I'm perfectly fine.
I never did those before the accident either. So, but when you start to realize that fear is just really fear, and Benjamin Franklin, the only thing is fear itself. It is. It really is just fear. And so again, if you have something else when the fear comes up, so the thing is if you try to kind of beat it in your head, like, oh, I'm wrong, and then, oh, I'm bad, here I am, I've got my spiral going, oh, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, and that just gets you deeper in. You just got to look at it and go, oh, okay, here you are, and treat it kind of like an old friend, but you then shift the power to something else. You go, okay, wait a minute, oh, yeah, that's the fear, so this fear reminds me to do. And you've got something else that you've set up to do, whether it's, for me, I started to do art, and it's funny, you can barely use your hands and arms when I'm doing art, right? Because I couldn't, and I was not a good artist before, but now I do art, and people have actually purchased the art, which always makes me really happy. But it was like, it was like, wait a minute, I had to do something else. And so for everybody, whether it's music or cooking, writing, there's some creative outlet, too, that people tend to ignore in our busy lives. And we say, oh, well, that's somebody over here who, got great grades in art or music or whatever it was, but I didn't in school, and so I'm not a writer, I'm not. And those are actually the kinds of things we need to do to reconnect and find something to balance it during that time. Sometimes sitting down and listening to some beautiful music.
Well, and you're talking about, too, letting emotions push you forward, like not squashing them down, but taking these emotions that you're feeling and, like, moving to a position of gratitude, having you say things like at a red light or go out and create something, use creativity, taking that emotional energy and channeling it somewhere and letting it move you forward.
Exactly. Doodling. It's doodling. You don't have to be an artist to doodle, but it's amazing what happens when you put pen to paper. So that you take that energy and let it go out. That's why exercise is always a good thing, because you're taking and you're putting that energy into something that is actually rejuvenating for your body. So you can come back physically tired from it, but it's something that's doing something for your body that's healthy. So. It's like so much of us, especially women, we push those feelings down. Oh no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I've got to take care of, I've got to take care of my parents. I've got to take care of my children, and then I've got to go to work. And seriously, women nowadays in the United States are incredibly busy, and they go from very early morning in the night to very late at night with almost doing nothing for themselves. And so what you'll find, though, is you start to do these very little things for yourself, and somehow, you know what else? You'll find that you have a little more time. It's amazing how it builds. It builds, and I hear this from people that I work with all over the country, and they'll be like, I can't even imagine, somebody at work that I've been just kind of fighting with for the last 5 years, and now, guess what? She actually brought me coffee. And it was like the coffee I like, There was an arsenic in it.
Janine, I'll never bring you coffee. I can't make coffee to save my life. I can't buy it.
I could totally make you some.
Yeah, you're the barista. What do you call it?
I was a barista for a minute.
Yep, for a minute.
Yes. I am looking at your website right now and looking at the gratitude cards, and I think they're beautiful, and it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
Well, they are beautiful, and I'll tell you, with my mom stuff, one of the things that Janine told me when she was counseling, for lack of a better word, this past week, helping me move through the space that I needed to do to get what I need done with my company, with my kids, with my family, with the impending death, the funeral, the obituary, all this stuff that's very difficult for me. Whenever I would feel the sadness come on or I would feel the fear come on, she told me to acknowledge it, to feel it, not stuff it down, but then after a moment to, feel it, whatever, for me, I'm kind of a hyper person, so I'm going to squeeze through that moment. But I would feel that moment, stop and pause, but then I would take these gratitude cards out, and sometimes it would take one or two reads for a couple cards, and then sometimes I would read through the whole deck. I actually went through one twice. And you could really feel your energy state change. You could really feel your state of being change. And all I could think of is making new neural pathways.
Exactly. Exactly. And this works with children, too. We have cards with children. So we've done some work with kids who are, been diagnosed HDAD, and and things like that, where they just have trouble focusing, and it's amazing how it can calm them down as well.
Well, because it kind of retrains your brain. Like for me, it retrained my brain from going, I can't do this, I can't handle this, I can't handle all the stress, which really does not help the situation, to going, I'm grateful for recovery. I'm grateful for what I can do. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful, to start doing all that stuff took me from a very disempowered state to a very empowered state where I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I mean, I've been through a lot of bad things in my life. This is a bad thing. A lot of people lose their parents. A lot of people lose their spouses. God forbid, a lot of people lose their kids. It's not the end of the world, but your own thinking can make it the end of the world, and that's when the vacuum cleaner story comes in. We as women, especially when we're home alone, waiting for our kids, doing chores that are menial, that don't occupy our brains, we fill it up with all this stuff, and we can go like Chicken Little from being a warm, sunny day to the sky is falling, at warp speed. Chrissy, you're laughing because we do this. As women, we do.
We've all been there.
We've all been there. Well, you guys, this has just been wonderful. And Janine, I want to thank you for being our guest today. Check her out at Touch.Nology, TOUCH-Nology.com. And Janine Wilburn is her name. She's got lots of great information for those of you looking to make your own gratitude cards, index cards, write some things on, do it, retrain your brain, give yourself a break, give your carpet a break, give your vacuum cleaner a break. Next week, we're going to have a great guest, but her name escapes me, so we're just going to move on. I should have put it on my gratitude card. My name is Sandra Beck. I am here with Christy Holly. Thank you, Doris Rivas-Brecky and Janine Wilburn for being with us.
Thank you, Sandra.
Next week. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of Motherhood Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Christy Holly on TogiNet.com. Join us every Tuesday as we